You're a future monarch. You've had a chance over more than 30 years now to observe our current monarch, the Queen. What, from the very particular perspective that you have as a future king?
In a surprising turn of events that feels like something from a royal drama, problems inside the palace have now become public. Prince William has reportedly taken away Camilla's granddaughter's royal title after she was caught bullying Princess Charlotte. What really went on behind closed doors? Why did William act so quickly and harshly? And how did Camilla respond to it? Join us as we unravel Prince William's shocking decision to revoke Camilla's granddaughter's royal status. The royal family picnic. It was a bright and beautiful afternoon at Windsor Castle, a place that has stood tall for hundreds of years as a proud symbol of British royalty. But on this day, there were no fancy ceremonies, no sparkling crowns, and no formal speeches. This wasn't about royal duties or public appearances. It was something much more rare and special, a quiet, private family gathering. For the first time in what felt like forever, the royal family had the chance to simply relax and enjoy each other's company. No photographers hiding in bushes, no cameras clicking, no rules about posture, perfect smiles, or where to stand. Just a peaceful afternoon in the fresh air surrounded by the warm sun and the gentle breeze of the English countryside. The scene unfolded in the castle's grand gardens, where tall trees swayed softly and the golden sunlight slipped through the leaves, casting dancing shadows on the soft green grass. Birds chirped cheerfully in the distance, and the giggles and squeals of children floated through the air. It was like something out of a storybook, a royal family, but stripped of all the glitter and stiffness, simply enjoying a lovely day outdoors. Picnic blankets were scattered on the lawns. Bottles of lemonade and snacks were being passed around. Every so often, a burst of laughter would ring out as someone cracked a joke or a child made a funny face. This wasn't the kind of royal moment people usually saw on TV. It was something far more real and heartwarming. At the center of it all were Prince William and Princess Kate, along with their three lively children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and little Prince Louis. The young royals were full of energy, dashing between flower beds and playing tag on the grass. George, the eldest, had the confident air of someone who knew he was the big brother. He took charge of the games, leading the younger ones with a quiet but steady sense of responsibility. Louis, the youngest, was a little ball of excitement. He zipped around in every direction, giggling and occasionally stirring up a bit of chaos. Nothing serious, just the playful mischief of a child enjoying the moment. His wide grin and sparkling eyes made it impossible not to smile at his antics. And then there was Charlotte, clever, calm, and full of charm. Though she was younger than George, she had a presence that drew people in. She moved easily between her brothers and the other children, offering a kind word here, a witty remark there. There was something steady and shining about her, as if she were born to handle the spotlight, even when there wasn't one. Kate, ever the loving mother, watched her children closely.
When I was growing up, I was very lucky. My family was the most important thing to me.
She moved quietly among them, making sure they were safe, well-fed, and happy. Dressed simply and smiling often, she looked completely at ease. No stiff royal posture, no rehearsed smiles. Just a mom enjoying the sight of her kids running wild on a sunny day. Every so often, her eyes flicked over to Prince William, who stood nearby in quiet conversation with his father, King Charles. William gave a quick glance toward the children, saw everything was fine, and turned back to his father with a smile. This was their time to let go of the royal rules, even if only for an afternoon. Also present was Queen Consort Camilla, who had brought along her two granddaughters, Lola Parker Bowles and Eliza Lopes. Though they weren't born into the royal bloodline, Camilla's grandchildren had started appearing at more royal events in recent years. Slowly but surely, they were becoming part of the royal world. They had even attended the coronation, and now here they were, joining in on this quiet family moment. Lola and Eliza fit right in, chatting with the other children and soaking in the sunshine. So what did Camilla's granddaughter do that warranted Prince William's shocking decision? Let's find out. Camilla's granddaughter bullying Princess Charlotte. What began as a peaceful and happy afternoon in the royal gardens quickly turned into a moment that shook the royal family to its core. The children of the royal family were running around, laughing, and enjoying a rare break from their usual royal routines. It was one of those sunny days where everything seemed perfect, until suddenly, everything changed. Princess Charlotte, who was known for being calm, graceful, and full of quiet confidence, suddenly found herself at the center of something hurtful. It started with a small, teasing comment, something about her curtsy, or maybe the way she moved. The words came from Eliza Lopes, Camilla's granddaughter. At first, it sounded like simple teasing, the kind of playful jab kids often make when they're trying to be funny. But Eliza didn't stop there. Then, out of nowhere, Eliza said something that hit like a thunderbolt. "Your mommy is just pretending to be queen. Mine is the real one." Those words struck deep. It wasn't just about Charlotte anymore. It was a direct hit at her mother, Catherine, Princess of Wales, and her future role as queen. The mood in the garden changed instantly. The joyful laughter vanished. It was like a dark cloud had suddenly drifted over the sunshine. Charlotte froze. Her face turned bright red. The confidence she usually carried so gracefully disappeared in an instant. She looked shocked, completely stunned. Then, her eyes filled with tears and she broke down, crying. But it wasn't just because of the cruel words, it was because of the pain behind them. The jealousy, the rivalry, the quiet war of succession that children often don't understand but still feel. Without saying a word, Charlotte turned and ran straight into her mother's arms. She was shaking, her sobs quiet but heartbreaking. It was a moment that made the royal family, who are usually so composed and distant, look incredibly human. Kate, always the calm and collected future queen, immediately knelt down and wrapped her arms tightly around her daughter. Her motherly instincts kicked in at once. She gently whispered comforting words into Charlotte's ear, rocking her slightly, trying to soothe the pain. But behind Kate's calm eyes there was something else. Anger. A quiet, burning anger that someone, even a child, would try to hurt her daughter in such a personal way. Not far away, Prince William was talking with King Charles when he noticed the commotion. He paused mid-sentence, his attention shifting straight to his wife and daughter. The moment he saw Charlotte clinging to Kate, her face red with tears, everything changed. His protective instincts came alive. He walked straight over, his face serious, his voice steady but firm. "What happened?" he asked. Kate stood up and quietly explained what had been said. Her voice was low but strong, her eyes shining with emotion. William listened closely, his jaw tightening. As he took in the words, his expression turned cold. It was clear, this wasn't just kids being kids. This was something deeper, and no one, not even someone from Camilla's family, was going to speak that way to his daughter and get away with it. While Kate held Charlotte close, gently stroking her hair, William stood nearby, filled with a growing sense of determination. Could this lead to a royal confrontation? And what role did Prince William play in all of this? Let's take a closer look. The role of Prince William. The moment William saw little Charlotte crying in Kate's arms, something inside him shifted. Everything around him seemed to fade away. This wasn't just about kids arguing on the playground. No, this was different. This was personal. His daughter was hurt, truly hurt, and not just emotionally, but deeply, in a way that made William's heart ache. He couldn't just stand there doing nothing. That wasn't who he was, not as a father, and certainly not as a future king. Without a second thought, William marched over to the staff nearby.
In a sense, instructing you as the future king about, as it were, the art of monarchy. Has she sort of taken you aside?
His steps were firm, his expression serious. He wasn't panicking, but the urgency in his eyes made it clear. He needed answers, and he needed them now. "What happened here?" he asked, his voice calm but commanding. This wasn't just a polite question. It was a demand for the truth. He was determined to understand exactly what had caused his daughter so much pain. The staff, clearly nervous, exchanged uneasy glances before one of them finally spoke. They explained that Eliza Lopes had said something cruel to Charlotte, something that went far beyond the usual teasing children do. Eliza had sneered and said, "Your mommy's just pretending to be queen. Mine is the real one." Those words hit William like a punch to the chest. In that moment, he could feel a storm rising inside him. This wasn't just a petty insult, it was a direct attack on his wife, on Charlotte's mother, on the very heart of his family. The hurt in Charlotte's eyes was proof enough that the words had left a mark. William's jaw tightened. His protectiveness as a father took over. He wasn't just Prince William anymore. He was a dad whose daughter had been targeted unfairly, and he wasn't going to let that go unchallenged. Not this time. He acted quickly. There was no hesitation. He called for an immediate meeting with his most senior royal advisors. To outsiders, it might have seemed like an overreaction, but William knew better. This wasn't about punishing a child. This was about standing up for what was right, about drawing a line in the sand. It was about respect, dignity, and setting an example for the future. In that meeting, William made a bold and difficult decision. Eliza Lopes would no longer be allowed to take part in royal events. No more appearances at royal ceremonies. No more family visits to royal estates. Any honorary royal titles she had been given would be taken away. It was a strong move, one that surprised many within the palace, but William knew it was the right thing to do. This wasn't something he did lightly. The choice weighed heavily on him. As a father, he hated that it had come to this. But he also knew that protecting his children, especially Charlotte, was more important than protecting royal customs. This was about making sure no one, not even someone from within the royal circle, could get away with disrespecting his family. For William, this was one of the hardest but most important decisions he had ever made as a royal. He wasn't just defending his daughter, he was defending the values that the royal family should stand for. He showed the world that love, respect, and honor matter more than titles or traditions. So, how did Camilla respond to such a decision? Let's find out. Camilla's reaction. When Prince William made the bold decision to take away royal privileges from Camilla's granddaughter, Eliza, the reaction was swift and explosive. It wasn't just a quiet change behind closed doors. It shook the royal household like a sudden storm. For Camilla, the news came like a slap in the face. She had spent years carefully and patiently building her place within the royal family. She had worked hard to earn respect, not just for herself, but for her children and grandchildren. So when she learned that Eliza was being pushed out of royal circles, she felt completely blindsided. To her, it wasn't just a formal decision, it was deeply personal. Eliza had been invited to royal events, stood beside the family during important moments, and had been welcomed into the royal spotlight. Now, in a single, painful moment, all of that was gone. It felt like the doors that had once been opened were now slammed shut. Camilla's first reaction was pure fury. She couldn't believe her stepson, Prince William, had done this. This wasn't just any child. This was her granddaughter, a girl who had been treated like royalty one day and cast aside the next. To Camilla, it felt like an attack on her family, and on everything she had worked so hard to build. Fueled by frustration and emotion, Camilla stormed into King Charles's office. She wasn't there to ask questions. She was there to demand answers. Her voice shook with disbelief and anger as she reportedly said, "You need to do something about this. This is an attack on my family. I can't believe William has done this." But Charles, always the composed and measured king, didn't react the way Camilla had hoped.
That all my family are feeling, we also share with so many of you in the United Kingdom.
He didn't raise his voice. He didn't show anger. Instead, his response was quiet, steady, and final. "It's done, Camilla," he said softly, his tone firm and calm. "There's nothing that can be changed now." Camilla stood there stunned. For the first time, she realized that Charles wasn't going to fight for her. The support she had expected simply wasn't there. She felt abandoned, not just by William, but now by her husband as well. To Camilla, this wasn't just a royal policy change. It felt like her entire family was being rejected. and the hurt ran deep, but her frustration didn't end there. Still burning with anger, Camilla turned to the palace staff. She demanded explanations. She wanted to know how this could have happened without her knowledge. The aides, many of whom had long respected her and treated her as a strong force within the palace, now found themselves in a difficult position. They had never seen the queen consort lose her temper like this. As whispers spread through the palace halls, a shift began to take place. Some of the staff who had always stood by Camilla began to quietly question her influence. Something in the royal dynamic had changed, and it wasn't just within the palace walls. Outside, the public began to rally around William and Kate, praising them for putting their own children's future first. At the same time, Camilla's once steady position in the royal family suddenly seemed shaky. Her anger was raw, her pain was visible, but none of it could undo what had already happened. Prince William's decision had sent a clear message. The old balance of power was shifting, and no matter how hard Camilla fought, it was obvious that her place in the royal family was no longer as secure as it once had been. What was Kate's position in this whole incident? Let's find out. Kate's defensive stance. When little Princess Charlotte came running to her mother, tears shining in her eyes, everything changed in an instant. The moment Kate saw her daughter's face, her protective instincts took over completely. She didn't hesitate, not even for a second. She dropped everything, knelt down, and wrapped her arms tightly around Charlotte, holding her close as the little girl sobbed into her shoulder. At that moment, Kate wasn't just a royal. She wasn't the elegant duchess that the public saw at official events. She was something far more powerful. She was a mother. And a mother, no matter who she is, will do absolutely anything to protect her child. Charlotte had heard something cruel, words that no child should ever have to hear. And though the royal gardens had been full of laughter only moments before, the joy seemed to vanish as quickly as Charlotte's tears had appeared. Kate knew she had to act. Gently, she took Charlotte's hand and led her away from the crowd, away from the whispers and the watching eyes. As they walked, she leaned down and whispered soothing words, trying to calm her daughter's racing heart, though her own heart was pounding just as fast. But Kate wasn't just upset. She was furious inside. What had happened wasn't some harmless joke or thoughtless remark. It was a direct insult, an attack on her child and her family. Kate had always been known for keeping her emotions in check. She was graceful, composed, always dignified. But now, all of that seemed distant, because this was different, this was personal, and no one, not even someone from inside the royal circle, had the right to make her daughter cry. At that moment, Kate had two thoughts. The first was simple and human. Comfort Charlotte, make her feel safe again, remind her that she is deeply loved. But the second was stronger and sharper. This couldn't be ignored. As a mother, she needed to protect her child. As the future queen, she needed to stand up for what was right. Later that day, Kate quietly asked for a private meeting with Queen Camilla. The atmosphere in the room was heavy with tension when they sat down together. Camilla, perhaps hoping to downplay the situation, gave a soft smile and referred to it as just kids being kids. But Kate didn't smile back. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. She looked Camilla directly in the eye, her expression calm but firm, and said clearly, "This isn't just about children playing. It's about respect. My children deserve to be treated with kindness." There was no anger in Kate's voice, but the strength behind her words was impossible to ignore. This wasn't just about Charlotte anymore. Kate was making it absolutely clear that her family, her children, were not going to be targets for cruelty or carelessness, no matter where it came from. She wasn't confronting Camilla to start a fight. She was standing up for her daughter, for what was right. At that moment, something shifted. Kate, who had always been seen as the graceful and supportive royal wife, revealed a deeper side of herself, a mother who would fight fiercely for her children. Camilla, who might have hoped to sweep the whole thing under the rug, suddenly realized this was not going to be forgotten. Kate was serious. She wasn't just protecting Charlotte's feelings, she was drawing a line. How did the public react to the shocking decision? Let's dive in and find out. Public response and William's bold decision. When Prince William decided to take away Camilla's granddaughter's royal privileges, The public reacted right away, and loudly. It wasn't just a royal family issue anymore. People everywhere felt a deep connection to the story, especially after hearing that Princess Charlotte had been brought to tears by a hurtful comment from Camilla's granddaughter. That moment turned into a symbol. Families should protect each other no matter what. Across social media, support for William and Charlotte grew quickly. Hashtags like Protect Charlotte and Team Charlotte became hugely popular. Thousands of people showed their support, especially parents, who praised William for defending his daughter. Many felt strongly about standing up for children, especially when bullying is involved. What started as a private family matter became something much bigger. People felt that William had made the right choice, not just to stop the bullying, but to show that no one, even in the royal family, should get away with treating others badly. His decision was seen as strong and clear. Bullying, even inside the royal circle, would not be accepted. But the focus didn't stay just on Charlotte. People began asking more questions about Camilla's family. They wondered why her grandchildren, who aren't royal by birth, were given special roles at royal events. Many thought it was unfair that titles and privileges were being handed out because of marriage, instead of being born into the royal family. The incident made people rethink how royal privileges are given, and whether it's right to give them out so easily. The media and the public started calling the situation a royal reckoning. It was no longer just a family issue. It was about fairness, power, and respect within the monarchy. It raised big questions about how family members should treat each other regardless of their titles. Prince William's choice to remove Camilla's granddaughter from the royal inner circle wasn't just about a bullying incident. It was a strong message against royal privilege. For the first time in a long while, someone from the royal family was held responsible for their actions. William made it clear that being related to royalty doesn't give anyone special treatment. His bold decision showed that bad behavior shouldn't be excused, no matter who you are. The royal family is supposed to be built on respect, duty, and service, not just on bloodlines. William reminded everyone that being royal should be earned, not automatically given. Over time, Camilla's family had slowly become more involved in royal life, but William's move marked a sharp break from that. He believed that being part of the royal family comes with responsibilities, not just privileges. This wasn't about punishing a child for saying something hurtful. It was about protecting the royal family's values and making sure it stayed respected. By taking away the privileges from Camilla's granddaughter, William showed that he wouldn't accept favoritism or entitlement. No one, not even a royal, should feel they can treat others badly and get away with it. William's decision also changed the balance of power in the royal family. What do you think about Prince William's bold move to defend his daughter? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe.